Supreme Commander Ixal stood motionless before the quantum display, her crystalline form refracting the soft blue light of the bridge. The Narian flagship, Eternal Dawn, had been monitoring the third planet of this unremarkable yellow star for 3 standard cycles, and with each passing moment, her confusion grew. "Play it again," she commanded, her voice resonating through the crystalline chamber. The transmission flickered to life once more, primitive radio waves carrying what appeared to be entertainment broadcasts, military communications, and countless personal messages, all of it unencrypted, unprotected, practically begging to be intercepted. "Impossible," muttered Science Director Venn, his crystalline edges dulled with age and wisdom. "A species capable of splitting the atom, yet they broadcast their secrets to the void. They haven't even attempted to cloak their orbital installations." Ixal's edges sharpened, a sign of irritation among her kind. "Show me their defensive capabilities again." The display shifted, revealing Earth's military assets: primitive projectile weapons, crude nuclear devices, and a handful of orbital satellites that barely deserved the name. Their most advanced ships still relied on chemical propulsion, and their space stations were fragile constructions requiring constant maintenance. "Perhaps they're simply young," suggested First Navigator Zara, her form pulsing with the soft green hue of optimism. "Not every species develops as we did." "Young?" Ixal's form flashed with patches of red. "They've had sufficient time to develop basic planetary defenses. Even the Centaurians managed that before we uplifted them." She paused, studying the planet's night side, dotted with the lights of sprawling cities. "No, there's something else here. Something we're missing." The bridge fell silent as the crew contemplated their commander's words. The Narian Empire had encountered 17 spacefaring civilizations in its expansion across the galaxy. Each followed predictable patterns of technological development. None had ever achieved nuclear fusion without first developing basic planetary shields. None had reached for the stars without protecting themselves from what they might find there. "New analysis, Supreme Commander," announced the sensor chief. "We've detected unusual energy signatures from their lunar installation." The display shifted again, focusing on Earth's moon. A small research station sat on its surface, apparently powered by primitive solar collectors. But beneath it, "Impossible," Venn whispered again, his crystalline form clouding with confusion. "These readings suggest, but no, their technology level couldn't possibly." "Speak plainly, Director," Ixal commanded. "The energy signature resembles quantum containment fields, Supreme Commander. But they're unlike any we've encountered. More efficient, more stable. If these readings are accurate, they're generations ahead of our own designs." Ixal's form pulsed with deep blue thoughtfulness, yet they surrounded with primitive solar panels and chemical rockets, like hiding a quantum core inside a stone wheel. She straightened, her crystalline edges sharpening with decision. "Prepare a first contact package. Standard protocols, but—" She paused, her form rippling with uncertainty. "Add a level 7 encryption to the response frequencies." The bridge crew stared at their commander in shock. Level 7 encryption was reserved for communications with advanced civilizations, not primitive worlds still struggling with basic spaceflight. "Supreme Commander," Zara ventured carefully, "regulations clearly state." "Regulations assume we understand what we're seeing," Ixal cut her off. "These humans." She gestured at the display, where television signals continued to paint a picture of a seemingly primitive species. "They're either impossibly careless with their technology or," her form darkened ominously, "they want us to think they're careless." The message was prepared and transmitted on all standard frequencies. The response came almost immediately, in perfect Narian quantum script. "Greetings, Eternal Dawn. We've been expecting you. Perhaps we should discuss why you've been watching us, and why you thought we wouldn't notice." As the message scrolled across the quantum display, every crystalline form on the bridge clouded with shock. Ixal's own form pulsed with a complex mixture of emotions: fear, excitement, and above all, curiosity. "Well," she said softly, It seems we found something new after all. Her form hardened with determination. And now we must decide whether we've discovered friends or foes, and hope they're willing to let us make that choice. Admiral Marcus Rivera of the United Earth Defense Force sat in his underground office, a kilometer beneath the lunar surface, watching the crystalline alien vessel through quantum-shifted sensors that officially didn't exist. The Nerian ship was beautiful in its own way, its translucent hull refracting starlight like a massive prism in space. "They're still trying to decrypt our defense grid protocols," reported Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. "Should we let them find something?" Rivera smiled, though there was little humor in it. "Give them access to the Delta-3 array. Let's see what they make of that." The Nerians had spent the last 24 hours since first contact attempting to map Earth's defensive capabilities. They were thorough, methodical, and completely unaware that every probe they launched was being guided toward carefully constructed deceptions. "Admiral," called out Dr. James Morrison from his station, "their quantum analysis of the lunar facility is getting uncomfortably close to the actual containment systems." As expected, Rivera nodded. Time to show them why curiosity needs to be tempered with caution. He pressed his palm against the quantum blast display, authorizing the next phase of humanity's first contact protocols. Across the solar system, carefully hidden sensors activated, painting a complete picture of the Nerian vessel's internal systems. The aliens' technology was impressive, but their arrogance had left gaps in their security that Earth's AI systems had exploited hours ago. "Their bridge crew is discussing the Delta-3 array," Tanaka reported, reading from the real-time translations. "They think they've found our primary defensive grid." She paused, suppressing a smile. "They're preparing to test it." Rivera leaned forward, watching as the Nerian ship launched what they probably thought was a subtle probe toward the apparent weakness in Earth's defenses. The probe was impressive technology, a quantum-shifted projectile designed to bypass conventional shields and scanning systems. "Let them hit it," Rivera ordered. "Full response protocol." The probe struck the Delta-3 array, expecting to find a primitive defensive system. Instead, it encountered something that shouldn't have been possible according to the Nerians' understanding of physics. The array didn't just stop the probe, it reversed its quantum state, sending it back toward the eternal dawn carrying a payload of data that would demonstrate just how outmatched the aliens were. On the Nerian vessel, Supreme Commander Ixel watched in disbelief as her probe's telemetry flooded the quantum displays. Her crystalline form flickered with patches of white, the Nerian expression of shock. "Impossible," Science Director Venn whispered, his aged form clouding with confusion. "They didn't just stop the probe. They rewrote its quantum matrix in real time. That level of quantum manipulation would require technology far beyond what we possess." Ixel finished for him. Her form hardened with the deep blue of realization. "We've made a terrible mistake." New data continued to pour in as the humans allowed them to see more of their true capabilities. The primitive orbital installations were revealed to be sophisticated quantum anchor points, creating a defense grid that could rewrite the laws of physics within its boundaries. The lunar base wasn't just containing advanced quantum reactions, it was generating entirely new forms of energy that the Nerians had never conceived of. Message from the surface. First Navigator Zora announced, her form pulsing with nervous energy. Text only. The message appeared on their quantum display. "Now that we've established that appearances can be deceiving, perhaps we should begin real discussions. We're transmitting coordinates for a neutral meeting location. Please note that declining this invitation would be unwise." Ixel's form rippled with complex emotions as she studied the coordinates. They pointed to a location in the asteroid belt, specifically to what her sensors told her was an unremarkable rock floating among millions of others. Supreme Commander Venn spoke carefully. "Preliminary scans of the meeting location show no artificial structures or energy signatures." "Of course they don't," Ixel replied, her form expressing a mixture of resignation and grudging respect. Just as our scans showed nothing but primitive technology around Earth, we've already established that what we can detect and what exists are not necessarily the same thing. She turned to face her crew, her crystalline form emanating the deep purple of command authority. We came here believing we had found a primitive species worthy of study, perhaps conquest. Instead, we've discovered a civilization that has mastered the art of hiding in plain sight. They could have destroyed us the moment we entered their system. Instead, they chose to teach us a lesson about presumption. "Your orders, Supreme Commander?" Zara asked. Ixal's form stabilized into the clear, sharp edges of decision. "Set course for the coordinates, and activate our quantum surrender protocols." "Surrender?" Ven's form clouded with alarm. "Surely we can." "Can what?" Ixal interrupted. "Fight against an enemy who can rewrite the quantum state of our weapons. Run? When they've already demonstrated complete control over local space-time." She gestured at the displays still showing the impossible data from their probe. "No, my friends, we're going to do something far more difficult than fighting or running. We're going to admit we were wrong, and hope these humans are as advanced in diplomacy as they are in physics." Back in his lunar office, Admiral Rivera watched the Narian ship alter course toward the meeting coordinates. "They're activating their surrender protocols," Tanaka reported, "and powering down their weapons systems." Rivera nodded, satisfied. "Good. They're learning." He stood, straightening his uniform. "Inform the diplomatic corps that Phase 1 is complete. The Narians have passed the test. They can learn from their mistakes. Now we can begin the real work of first contact." He paused at the quantum display, studying the crystalline ship that had arrived with such confidence and was now approaching with such caution. "And send a message to Supreme Commander Ixal. Tell her that wisdom often begins with admitting what we don't know." The meeting location turned out to be far more than an unremarkable asteroid. As the eternal dawn approached, the rock's surface shimmered and dissolved, revealing a massive space station that defied the Narians' understanding of engineering. It seemed to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, its architecture flowing like liquid crystal while maintaining perfect structural integrity. Supreme Commander Ixal stood in the station's conference chamber, her crystalline form carefully maintained in its most diplomatic configuration, despite her inner turmoil. Across the quantum glass table, Admiral Rivera and his team studied the Narian delegation with equal parts curiosity and caution. "You're wondering why we maintain the illusion of technological inferiority," Rivera said, breaking the silence. It wasn't a question. Ixal's form rippled with acknowledgement. "Among other things, your species has achieved quantum manipulation beyond anything we've seen, yet you surround yourselves with primitive technology. You broadcast your communications openly, yet hide your true capabilities. It seems inefficient." Dr. Morrison, the quantum physicist, leaned forward. "Tell me, Supreme Commander, in your species' expansion across the galaxy, how many civilizations have you encountered that survived their first contact with a more advanced species without losing their cultural identity?" The question caused Ixal's form to cloud briefly with discomfort. The answer, of course, was none. Every species the Narians had uplifted had eventually adopted Narian technology, Narian customs, Narian ways of thinking. It was considered the natural order of things. "We learn from those we contact," she said carefully. "We share our knowledge." "You absorb them," Rivera interrupted, his tone firm but not unkind. "Not through force, usually, but through the simple fact that when presented with advanced technology, most species abandon their own development path to follow yours." Ven, who had been quietly analyzing the station's quantum field configurations, suddenly straightened, his aged form brightening with realization. "You hide your advancement to protect other species from cultural contamination," he said. "But that's not all, is it?" Lieutenant Commander Tanaka smiled. "Go on, Director Ven. You're on the right track." The elderly Narian scientist's form pulsed with excitement. "Your primitive technology. It's not just a facade. You maintain multiple technological paths simultaneously. Your chemical rockets aren't inferior technology. They're a different technology, developed alongside your quantum systems. Precisely. Morrison nodded. Humanity learned early in our development that there are many paths to the stars. Quantum manipulation is incredibly powerful, but chemical rockets taught us lessons about engineering that prove valuable in unexpected ways. Primitive radio teaches us things about information theory that quantum communication might miss. But the deception, Ixel pressed, the deliberate appearance of vulnerability. Rivera's expression hardened slightly. Is the result of hard experience. 50 years ago, we encountered another advanced species. They weren't as diplomatic as the Nerian Empire. They saw our open development of quantum technology as a threat. The Arkans, Zara whispered, her form paling. We found traces of their destroyed fleet 2 cycles ago. You? They demanded we surrender our quantum research, Tanaka explained. When we refused, they attacked. They never realized that our apparently primitive missile defense systems had been augmented with quantum targeting. Their shields were optimized against energy weapons, not kinetic impacts guided by quantum calculations. After that, Rivera continued, we developed our current approach. We maintain multiple technological paths, hide our true capabilities, and carefully evaluate any species that discovers us. Those who respond to our apparent vulnerability with diplomacy and curiosity, like the Nerian Empire, are welcomed as potential allies. Those who respond with aggression. He left the sentence unfinished, but the implications were clear. Ixel's form shifted through several emotional patterns before settling into one of deep respect. You've achieved something remarkable, she said, not just technologically, but culturally. Your species maintains its connection to its past while pushing the boundaries of science. You found a way to advance without losing yourselves. Which brings us to why we've revealed ourselves to you, Rivera said, activating a holographic display. We've been monitoring the Nerian Empire for some time. Your society is unique among those we've encountered. You seek to understand what you find, not simply conquer or absorb it. You're capable of admitting error and adapting your approach. The display showed various Nerian worlds, each maintaining its own distinct culture while sharing in the Empire's technological benefits. You've managed to build an empire that preserves diversity, Morrison added. Different approaches, different perspectives, all contributing to the whole. It's remarkably similar to how we approach technological development. Are you suggesting an alliance? Ixel asked, her form brightening with interest. We're suggesting something more, Rivera replied. A partnership. There are threats coming that neither of us can face alone. The Arkans were just the beginning. We need allies who understand the value of maintaining multiple approaches, multiple perspectives. Ixel's form crystallized with sudden understanding. You didn't just reveal yourselves to us. You revealed yourselves in a way specifically designed to teach us about your philosophy, to show us that appearances can deceive, that multiple paths can lead to the same destination. The question is, Tanaka said softly, did we choose correctly? Is the Nerian Empire ready to partner with a species that challenges your basic assumptions about technological progress? In response, Ixel's form shifted to a configuration that none of the humans had seen before, a complex crystalline pattern that somehow conveyed both humility and determination. We came here believing we would find primitives to study, she said. Instead, we found teachers. I think we have much to learn from each other. Echoes of the void. The quantum display aboard the hidden station filled with images that made Ixel's crystalline form darken with concern. The void between galaxies, traditionally empty, showed signs of massive energy distortions. Dr. Morrison's presentation had been going for over an hour, each revelation more disturbing than the last. We detected the first anomalies 3 years ago, Morrison explained, manipulating the display to show a time lapse of the distortion's growth. At first, we thought they were natural phenomena, quantum fluctuations on a cosmic scale. Then we detected patterns. Intelligence, Ven whispered, his aged form flickering with academic excitement, despite the ominous implications. These distortions are artificial. More than that, Tanaka added, bringing up a new set of readings. They're a form of quantum communication, but on a scale we've never seen before. Whatever's creating them isn't just sending messages, they're reorganizing space-time itself to carry their signals. Supreme Commander Ixal studied the data with growing unease. The Narian Empire had encountered many advanced species, but nothing capable of this level of cosmic engineering. The Archons? She asked, though she already suspected the answer was more complicated. Admiral Rivera shook his head. The Archons were running from something. We realized that too late, after we'd defeated their invasion force. Their aggression wasn't about conquest. It was about finding defensible territory, gathering resources for what they knew was coming. These beings, Morrison continued, we call them the Void Shapers. They don't just use quantum technology. They've evolved beyond the constraints of normal space-time. Their very existence warps reality around them. In the center of the quantum display, a simulation played out. A massive entity, seemingly composed of pure energy and folded dimensions, moved through space. Where it passed, the fundamental constants of physics shifted and changed, making normal matter and energy behave in impossible ways. This is why you maintain multiple technological paths, Ven realized, his form brightening with understanding. Quantum technology alone won't be enough against beings that can rewrite quantum laws themselves. You need alternatives, backup systems operating on different principles. Exactly, Rivera confirmed. Chemical rockets might seem primitive, but they still work when local spacetime is distorted. Radio waves can penetrate quantum interference that blocks more advanced communications. The old ways have value precisely because they're simple, fundamental. Ixal's form shifted through patterns of thought before settling into a configuration of decisive action. You need our help, she stated. The Narian Empire's experience with different species, different technologies. We can help coordinate a response. And we need your crystalline technology, Morrison added. Your people's unique physical structure allows you to adapt to quantum state changes that would destroy organic matter. Combined with our understanding of quantum manipulation, we might stand a chance, Tanaka finished. But only if we work together. Only if we can combine our strengths and learn from each other's approaches. A new alert flashed across the quantum display. Lieutenant Commander Tanaka's hands flew across the controls, her expression grim. Long-range sensors are picking up something massive entering the galaxy's outer rim. The quantum distortions are increasing exponentially. The display shifted to show a vast region of space, where stars were beginning to flicker and dim. Reality itself seemed to be unraveling at the edges, creating a spreading zone where normal physics no longer applied. At its center, something vast and incomprehensible was taking shape. They're here sooner than we expected, Rivera said quietly. The question is, Supreme Commander Ixal, can our species move past centuries of ingrained behaviors and truly work together? The Narian Empire's tendency to absorb and standardize, humanity's instinct to hide and deceive, we need to overcome these if we're going to survive. Ixal rose to her full height, her crystalline form emanating the deep purple of absolute authority. The Empire has survived for millennia by adapting, by taking the best from those we encounter. You've shown us a new way of thinking about progress, about the value of maintaining multiple approaches. She turned to face the display, showing the approaching threat. We don't have time for half measures or partial trust. The Narian Empire stands ready to ally fully with humanity. And humanity, Rivera responded, standing to match her formal posture, is ready to share all of our knowledge, all of our capabilities, with the Narian Empire. No more deception, no more hidden depths. The quantum display flickered again, showing more violations of physics spreading across space. In the face of such fundamental threats to reality itself, old prejudices and habits seemed suddenly insignificant. Two species that had evolved on different worlds, developed along different paths, found themselves united by the need to defend not just their own existence, but the very nature of space-time itself. "We should begin immediately," Morrison said, pulling up complex quantum equations. "The Void Shaper's approach is causing cascading reality failures. We need to combine our technologies, find ways to stabilize space-time itself." As humans and Narians began working together, sharing knowledge and techniques they had kept hidden for centuries, Ixal reflected that perhaps this was the true test of an advanced civilization, not its ability to dominate or absorb others, but its capacity to adapt and cooperate in the face of genuine existential threats. The price of curiosity had led them here, but it was their ability to learn from each other that might ultimately save them all. Rewriting reality. The combined fleet of human and Narian vessels hung in formation at the edge of normal space-time, facing the approaching wave of reality distortions. Supreme Commander Ixal, now stationed aboard the Earth flagship Prometheus, alongside Admiral Rivera, watched as the final preparations were completed. "Reality anchor points are in position," Tanaka reported from her station. The network of devices, combining Narian crystalline technology with human quantum manipulation, created a web of stable space-time around the fleet. Primitive chemical thrusters stood ready as backup, while quantum engines hummed with power. "The Void Shapers are accelerating their approach," Morrison announced, his hands dancing across quantum displays that showed increasingly unstable physics in the surrounding space. "They've noticed our preparations. They're curious." "Good," Rivera said grimly. Curiosity goes both ways. The past month had seen unprecedented cooperation between humans and Narians. The humans' mastery of quantum manipulation, combined with the Narians' unique crystalline technology, had produced innovations that neither species could have achieved alone. But would it be enough against beings that treated the laws of physics as mere suggestions? The first Void Shaper emerged from the distortion field, a massive entity that seemed to exist in dozens of dimensions simultaneously. Where it passed, reality rippled and changed, stars flickering between different quantum states. Behind it, more of its kind began to take shape, their very presence warping the fabric of space-time. "They're trying to communicate," Venn reported, his crystalline form fluctuating as he interpreted the impossible readings. "But their message, it's changing the quantum state of space itself. Our traditional systems can't interpret it without failing." "Then we use the old ways," Rivera ordered. "Switch to amplitude modulation radio. Sometimes the simplest solution is the most effective." Static-filled audio filled the bridge as ancient radio waves, riding on carefully maintained quantum carriers, brought the first message from the Void Shapers. "Reality Adaptation is necessary. Survive or be originality." "Not very diplomatic," Ixal observed, her form showing complex patterns of concern and determination. "Director Morrison, are we ready?" The physicist nodded, bringing up the schematics for their desperate plan. "The quantum crystalline network is in place. When the Void Shapers attempt to rewrite local spacetime, we can use their own energy to power our response. But we'll only get one chance." "All ships, final positions," Rivera commanded. The fleet moved with practiced precision. Narian ships flowing like liquid crystal, while human vessels maintained rigid formation, each approach valid, each contributing to the whole. "Remember, when reality starts to shift, trust your backup systems. What they can rewrite, we can anchor." The Void Shapers surged forward, reality breaking down around them. Stars began to strobe between different quantum states, fundamental forces fluctuating wildly. But where their influence met the human Narian defense grid, it found resistance, not just from advanced quantum technology, but from layers of redundant systems operating on multiple principles. "Grid holding at 60%, Tanaka reported as reality itself seemed to flex and bend. "Crystalline reinforcement compensating for quantum fluctuations. Traditional systems providing baseline stability." The Void Shapers pressed harder, their confusion evident in the increasing desperation of their attacks. They had encountered many species in their journey across the cosmos, but none that could resist their fundamental manipulation of reality. None that maintained multiple technological paths, multiple approaches to existence itself. They're concentrating their energy, Morrison warned. Preparing for a massive reality shift. If we're going to act, it has to be now. Ixal's form crystallized into perfect clarity as she gave the command that might save both their species or doom them all. Execute Protocol Omega. Let's show them that reality isn't theirs to rewrite. The quantum crystalline network activated, not fighting against the Void Shapers' reality distortions, but incorporating them, channeling them, using their own power to create something new. The crystalline properties of the Narian ships resonated with the quantum manipulations of human technology, creating a cascade effect that spread through the fabricated reality anchors. Space itself seemed to scream as fundamental forces were caught between competing influences. But where the Void Shapers sought to rewrite reality by force, the Human-Narian alliance worked to create harmony between different states of existence. Their technology didn't fight against the changes. It adapted to them, incorporated them, found ways to make them stable. Network at full power, Morrison announced, his voice tense with concentration. Reality anchors holding. Beginning final phase. The Void Shapers reeled as their own power was turned against them, their ability to manipulate reality encountering something they had never faced before, a framework that could adapt to and stabilize their changes rather than being overwhelmed by them. The very complexity of the Human-Narian approach, maintaining multiple technological paths and methodologies, created a resilience they couldn't overcome. Message from the Void Shapers, Ven reported, his form brightening with surprise. They're asking for dialogue. Adaptation, unexpected. Stability through complexity. Interesting. Communication desired. Rivera and Ixal exchanged glances. Well, the Admiral said with a slight smile, I suppose curiosity isn't limited to organic beings. Should we show them the benefits of maintaining multiple perspectives? Ixal's form shimmered with what might have been amusement. Indeed. After all, that's what first contact should be about. Learning from each other, finding new ways to understand reality itself. As the crisis transformed into an unprecedented opportunity for exchange, humans and Narians alike reflected on how far they had come. What had begun as a potential conquest had become an alliance, and now stood to become something even greater, a bridge between fundamental different ways of experiencing reality itself. The price of curiosity had been high, but its rewards promised to be even greater. In learning to work together, in maintaining their diverse approaches while finding common ground, they had discovered something profound. The true strength of advanced civilization lay not in domination or uniformity, but in the ability to adapt, to learn, and to grow together.